fickle, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
Yes, that is right. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network live on a Monday night. And it is so great to be back live with all of you and our listeners to talk some Saturday Night Live. And we are doing something very fun tonight. It is a show called Point Counterpoint, and this will be the third time we will be doing the show. You may recognize the name from back in the 70s where we had Point Counterpoint on Weekend Update, and we have co-opted the name to have our own little debate show with two of our best panelists who come onto the show pretty frequently to discuss new episodes of SNL. But this time we are going to debate many SNL topics as we start to look forward to the new season coming out in hopefully a few months. So let me bring in our guests here today. And first up is Andrew Dick from That Week in SNL. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's been so long. Been
long.
chomping at the bits. Yeah, too long. Since the last time I was on. Didn't even get to really wrap up the season, which was a bummer. So this will be fun. Been waiting for this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we missed having you on the show in May because we got our writer's strike canceled episodes, but it is great to have you on today. And your opponent tonight for the third time is TJ Randolph. So TJ, how are you doing?
John, I'm feeling blessed, black, and highly favored. It's been a long time. You know, it's been a long time since I've been on the podcast. 3 months. I was here for the Quinta Brunson episode. It's been a full Philadelphia minute since I've been on the show. And I'm very happy to get into some verbal violence tonight. John, you'll know I enjoy doing this program because if anyone follows me on Instagram, they know I enjoy cooking, and I just got finished cooking some air fried chicken skewers with a lemon butter sauce. And I only got a chance to have a few nibbles of it before I came on to do this program. So clearly I'm happy to be here if I am ignoring food that I just made to do it. So I'm glad to be here, John.
And it is now my goal to make this the longest recording I could possibly make it.
Will you make this Will you make this the longest podcast in Saturday Night Network history? We shall see. You'd have to top 4.5 hours, but
I think it had to be like close to like 5 hours or something because I remember the numbers I think you guys did.
We're crazy over here, but go ahead.
I do feel it's appropriate for me to have taken such a long time off, even though I didn't take a time off officially. I feel like it's okay because the Quinta Brunson episode was my arc completion. I said it at the beginning of the season. That was my arc, and it was, and then boom, season finale, son. Like, so to be back here now, I feel like it's honestly poetic because I've had a 3-month season break, and I'm back. I'm time for me to develop a new arc. Maybe Andrew and I will find it here what my arc for season 4 of the Saturday Night Network will be.
Okay. All right. I look forward to seeing what's to come over here. So in case you missed last week's show, I just want to do one more plug for what we did last week. We did a very fun draft podcast where we drafted the one-hit wonders of the SNL cast. So anyone who was on the show for 2 seasons or less, we drafted them, and we had 7 different teams, 6 cast members for each team, and we posted those teams out on our social media platforms. So if you want to vote and let us know who won the draft, we would love to know. There's very high stakes involved, so definitely make sure to let the panelists know and comment on the Instagram post or on Twitter, or let us know on Threads too, a new social media platform.
Did you make a Threads account for the podcast?
We have a Threads account, so you can follow us there. Of course.
I do too, TJ.
I've been thinking about making one, but one, I know I still don't use Twitter a ton, but 2, if I try it, don't like it, I don't want to have to delete my Instagram, and I love my Instagram. So that's my let me see how this works out for me. Let's see if people are really gravitating towards it.
All right.
How are you guys feeling about it?
It's very meh so far.
Very meh?
I would say.
All right, so there's no rush.
Yeah,
I love it.
Say no.
John, you love it. Ooh,
yeah, I love it. I think it's like when you walk into a party and you get to see all of your friends before all the other people you don't care about show up. That's what Friends is right now. So
we said the same thing about Clubhouse, and we also had a show.
I loved Clubhouse.
But we had a canceled show on Clubhouse.
That's true.
You have an eagle-eyed listener to know that one.
Yes, for sure. Okay, let's get into our show tonight here on the podcast, which is Point Counterpoint number 3. And how this works is we have debate topics that Andrew and TJ are going to go through and discuss. I will sort of be here to moderate and give input whenever they would like or whenever I feel like I need to. But, it's going to be fun to go through these topics. And in the chat, we want to see your comments throughout the show about, what they're saying, who's winning the debates, who's enjoying themselves the most over here. So 6 debate topics we're going to go through will be about 10 minutes each for each topic. So Andrew, TJ, you guys ready?
Yeah,
let's do it.
All right, let me just set up on YouTube
that's right,
visually here. So
we
have,
do this.
I forgot we do
Yes.
this.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little,
There we go.
there you go. So we got Andrew on my left, we got TJ on my right, and we are going to start with topic number 1, which is, should SNL add any new cast members for season 49? And if so, how many? And I thought this was an interesting discussion because season ended abruptly. So we didn't really get any finality on anything from season 48. We had 4 new cast members added, a lot of turnover. Do we think we need any fresh new blood into the show to start off season 49? So, Andrew, let me start with you on this one.
Do we need? No, I would say no, we don't really need much new, fresh blood because we just got 4 new cast members. I think they're all working out. Got plenty of great years ahead of them. But I'm going to roll that back and say that maybe the show does need to kind of take a look at its female cast right now because, you just had 3 of the biggest ladies in the show's, history basically leave over the last couple of years. You have Heidi and Ego, nearing the end of their contracts. One would think usually that's when they start to leave the show, but in this era, who's to say? So yeah, I think on the male side of the show, I think they're pretty well represented. We got things could cook over the next couple of years, but I think they need to kind of start filling out the female side of the cast a little bit more. That comes with the caveat of that's if people leave.
What if nobody leaves though?
Then no new cast members. No new cast members. It's weird because I go between I want a smaller cast, but I always love to see new fresh faces. So, if they're not going to slim down the cast, then you can't add anybody right now. But in a sense, I would like to see some new faces. So, yeah, I think it's the female side of the cast that they need to start kind of looking to the future. I mean, I know you got Sarah in there, but I'm not. She's at a crossroads right now where she could either, continue to be the sort of like, I don't know, like the Will Forte of the group where she's doing very specific sketches like in her voice or just generally in her wheelhouse, or she can be like an Amy Poehler and kind of lose what she kind of came into the show doing and kind of get a broader audience. And I'm not sure if that would work for Sarah. I don't know, don't know what that looks like, honestly, but yeah, generally, I think she's the one with the biggest prospects. And I think, we're going to have to say goodbye to Heidi and Ego sometime soon.
Hey, let's slow down. All right. Not all of us are ready for that.
Well, TJ, tell us why.
What happened, TJ?
Look, unlike my dad, they don't have to leave. Okay. Like it's not.
They need that pack of smokes, man.
What were you saying, John?
Well, TJ, I would love to know, like, let's get some fiery opinions here. How do you feel? Do you feel differently than Andrew?
Well, John, the basis of this show is based on verbal violence and disagreement. And though I enjoy Andrew and he knows that anything I say here is just me being silly, it's never anything actually as a personal attack. I surprisingly, you want to know what? I disagree. Because as much as I thought I would be like, keep it small. you know what? We have enough data on this new cast to see how they would gel together. Sure, it's only been a season, but I feel like a season, that's, what do we have, 18 episodes?
Yeah.
That's plenty of time to see how people like work together. Even if you have 4 people in that cast that are kind of figuring themselves out, like Longfellow and Walker. Like, also, doesn't that sound like a great like Western like title? Longfellow and Walker, CBS at 9. Sorry, I haven't podcasted in a minute.
Get it all out.
I know. I just did Rabbit Trail a few weeks ago. Okay. But the thing I was trying to get at there is that even though you have 4 podcasts that are, you have 4 cast members that are trying to like find their footing, these 4 have found their footing better than what I feel like we've seen in the past maybe 13 years of new cast members. I'm talking people like Brudnisky, Tim Robinson, Paul Britton, Casey Wilson, Jenny Slate. Like, I feel like they have everyone here at these 4 have a better voice and have had way more opportunity, the exception of maybe Devin Walker, to like show themselves a little bit. Or like, I feel like they've really done a great job at charming the audience versus what some of the other one-hit wonders hadn't really done. Who was the girl from last season? Lauren something?
Lauren
exactly. Holt. No, exactly. It was what I'm saying. Like, I can't even remember what her name is. I know.
Well,
Granted, I know
that was more the show didn't utilize her than she got plenty of chances to show her range, and nobody really reacted to it. It was the show barely used her. I think she had one Weekend Update thing, and that was basically what you could call her output in that season. So.
And that's fair. And I'm not trying to attack her because she could have like a hit Netflix show in like 4 years, like Tim Robinson or Zoe Wells on with Aziz Ansari. What I'm trying to say is we weren't shown. I feel like these cast members, because here's the thing, from Lauren Holt to John Vragniski to anybody that's got on the show, that means they're good. It just may not mean SNL is the right platform for them. So even if I'm roasting Lauren Holt, I'm not roasting her as a comedian. I'm roasting.
Why are we talking about Lauren Holt? We're talking about should they be
Let me get to what I'm trying to say. I'm
Yeah.
trying to say these cast members have had more time than Lauren Holt.
I'm so roasted right now.
Other people have gotten to really show their stuff. So I feel like we can judge them as a cast, not as like a cast and a few featured players. With that said, if there is still this ensemble theme in these next couple of seasons, which would be really interesting to see going into 50 more than the 49. But if there's still this ensemble theme, I could see us giving 1, maybe 2 more voices, because we've had 4 years of them introducing at least 2 or 3 cast members a season. I don't really think they're gonna, and that was even pre-pandemic. I think with 2019 with Shane Gillis and Yang and Chloe. Like, if that trend continues where they just want to keep bringing a new blood, especially as we get closer to 50, I really don't see that slowing down. So I think if we have to still have new people, bring in 1 or 2. I think just to shake things up a little bit, because this cast knows how they're gelling. It'd be interesting to see what it'd be like to have, 2 years in a modern era of no added cast members. I think that would be fascinating. But I think you bring in 1 fish, that person might have maybe a tough time. But if it's still this ensemble brand, they're going to have a great time versus what Aristotle dealt with, I feel like, the year prior. So I could see it if in this current new era versus what we had in our last era.
Yeah, and I think that the question here really is with the word should, right? Not like will they or won't
then
they.
yes. I'm saying yes.
Yeah, because, should they? Because every single year they've done so for like, I think how many years in a row that they have added at least 1 new cast member. Like, it's been something that they've always done. So if they were to
it's more rare for them to not add anybody than to
right. So is this the exception, Andrew? Is this the year that basically we had like what we can ultimately consider, at least in 2023, the start of the new era? We started to see positivity in the show. People, for the most part, we're feeling good about the progression of way things are going. Is this the time to say, hey, let's just put a stop to this right now, see how this gels in 49, and then if we need to add people for 50, we will?
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, again, I still think that there's cracks within the cast. I mean, I love her, but they don't give anything for Punky to do, honestly. I mean, beyond like a couple things, the things she did with Mikey, on Weekend Update was hilarious and charming. And, it's like Melissa Villaseñor. Like every single time she pops up, she adds to a sketch. She's hilarious, but she's barely used. So you begin to just like, well, then could we have somebody else in that spot that may work within this machinery more? And yeah, so that's why I'm saying like the should is a yes, but people need to leave to facilitate these slots, these openings. We can't get a bigger cast right now. Definitely not. But I don't think the show beyond like Ego really has like like the totem pole is kind of weird and shaky, and like I don't think the show kind of has the stars that it always kind of wants right now, which is fine to me. But I'm thinking more what Lorne would do or what he wants. And I'm thinking that, well, we got Ego, we had Lisa from Temecula, and, all the nerds, like the newbies and Longfellow and Marcello, everybody, all the SNL nerds like them and stuff, but they're not culturally catching fire right now.
What are you're forgetting about Chloe? Like, she just had like the Idol parody that like, that was huge. Or she put on a bra backward. Yes, it was huge. She put a bra on backwards and did an impersonation of that really cringy character from the Idol, which
Lily
is
Rose
a
Depp's
massive.
character.
Yeah, was that on the show or just
no? That's on Instagram.
No, that was just on Instagram, like post the season. But even then, that grabbed a lot of attention. I don't think Chloe has in a way that Pete had, but Pete, that was literally just because of Ariana Grande, and then what really was the home run of a dating life. But like Chloe, I don't think Chloe is at the Kate star level, but in terms of popular figures that are like happen to be on SNL, I think Chloe, I don't know if
Chloe seems more popular elsewhere than on SNL.
Yes.
So is Pete Davidson. That's the point.
Well, then that's not a great factor to have in the show either. Of just like somebody that's nebulously more famous.
We're talking about
a
star. But
she's not a star on SNL. That's what I'm saying.
But neither was Pete.
I mean, I don't know if we have a star on SNL right now.
Kate. We know that star. If we want to look at star, the last star we had was Kate, and then before then it was like Wig and Hader. Actually, I guess Hader wasn't. He's a star to me. He's a star to me.
Yeah. I guess, he's definitely. I mean, he's an all-time great cast member. I mean, if you're talking about star on the show, then you have to define.
Yeah, we're talking like when they're in their tenure. Like Hader definitely was like a big one, but like wasn't Wig a bigger star at the time?
Sure, I mean, if what you're looking to describe is someone who was both a star on the show and off the show at the same time, then yes, you probably have to. I mean, Kate is probably a good recent example, and then you'd have to go back to Kristen, and then it's maybe Andy Samberg would be a good example of that as well. But like those are rare and few and far between over the last 20 years because just the nature of media. So I do want to wrap this discussion in terms of the last part of the question, which is if so, how many? So I'm going to put it blank to both of you. So TJ, you said yes, SNL should add new cast members for season 49. How many should they add?
I'm going to say 2, specifically on the basis that I keep forgetting, gentlemen, we're close to 50. And 50 is this mysterious figure that we don't know what is going to happen. Lorne could leave. The show could be different. NBC could be like, all right, you guys at 50, cancel. Like we have, I really doubt that.
Well, it would be post 50. Remember that. It would be like,
yes, no, I know. Yeah. Like 50th season, and they choose to cancel at the end of the 50th. I don't necessarily know. Like Lorne holds a lot of power. Who knows what will happen at that 50 mark? But that 50th special is going to be huge. And I'd rather us bring in someone like, unlike with Bowen. I think, did Bowen have to deal with this? No. There was somebody who was a new cast member during the 40th. I can't remember who it was.
It would be Pete and Leslie would be those.
Oh wow, yeah, that's right. So I keep forgetting we're gonna have that, and I think, as much as I hate to say it, like we could see an Ego or a Heidi leave if we're going back to the old template of 6 to 8 years of a tenure. We don't know what this new era will bring tenure wise. So if we're gonna see people exiting in 49 and 50. We got to keep like padding the cast. I don't want us to get back up to like, 47, 48 COVID levels. It was ridiculous. That was way too much. I think this number right now is solid, but like Andrew was saying, I agree with that. We need to be padding a little bit because we will see exits over the next year or two.
All right, Andrew, final word.
Yeah, at most 2, but that's if 3 people leave. If not, then zero. Nobody. I don't want a bigger cast. Yeah.
Well, bigger cast is different than adding people. That's two different questions.
All right. Well,
yeah.
my 2 cents on this is I don't think anybody's leaving because I think that of the writer's strike, I just don't think there was the opportunity to say goodbye. I think for a guy like Mikey Day, who may have thought about it, even though he told us that he wouldn't be. I mean, someone like him who seems to be like in the natural progression of the twilight of his SNL career. I think that he's somebody who probably didn't get the proper goodbye that he could have gotten. Same with, Colin Jost and Michael Che. So I think that there's like, unfinished business here for season 49 for some of the people who may have left otherwise. And as a result of that, I actually would probably just stick the same, maybe add one person, though I have heard from like Ego how difficult it is to come into the show as just one cast member joining the show. So for me, I think from a producer standpoint, I think you maybe just add one, maybe two people. From a cast member standpoint, obviously, if you're coming in, you want as many people as possible. And I think that's part of the reason for the success of the 4 newbies is that they were a bigger class coming in together. And we've seen in the history of the show, the more people that come in together, the more success they seem to have on the show together. Okay, let's move on to topic number 2, which is which cast member is going to take the biggest leap forward next season into season 49? So I want you to think about it. I want you to think about all the cast members that are currently on the show. Who are we going to be talking about in a year from now being like, wow, potential MVP, maybe not the star of the show, but somebody who's going to just take that progress forward. I mean, a year ago, we couldn't believe that, Mikey Day would have, risen dramatically in his like later, part of his career. Who's going to take that next step? So TJ, do you have any ideas?
I think if we're going off of silliness and charm here, off of someone we've been enjoying, and I don't even know if I fully believe this. If we're gambling, possibilities, I'm gonna say Longfellow, because I feel like Longfellow had a lot of play and a lot of pull early in that season, where I would have said Sarah. Sarah's already kind of had that leap forward that she should have, which is phenomenal. Sarah, if there's anyone that has the potential to be the star, like Sarah's definitely in that ranking. But like I think Longfellow is going to be it because, like, sure, like he's a comedian and you could like he also has this sardonic personality. But like I think the thing for me that was like, oh, I think they like this guy. I think it's the fact that like he's also willing to get into costume. Like he's willing to put on the Dilbert. He's willing to put on the groundhog costume. He's willing to like still while having his own sardonic personality. He's willing to play a character, even if he's still kind of like acting the same. I feel like he's willing to still get like a little bit into character or do characters that work for him. And I feel like there's maybe just a lot that could work for him. Of like the weird lanky white guy that's maybe a little sardonic. Who doesn't we're in America. Sorry, I know John. Well, John's in North America. Yeah, we're in America. Like, who doesn't love sarcasm? Like, as a form of like communication, especially here in the States. I feel like Longfellow, I could see him slipping into not Beck in personality because he's not Beck. That's not who he is. But Beck in terms of likability, getting a lot of like play and work. I could see them going to him a lot. Maybe not in the same J.J. way, because J.J. was just unprecedented, a magnet. But like, think about how much we saw Longfellow in that last season. I could see it only growing, honestly.
Very interesting choice here by TJ. Obviously, Michael Longfellow, huge on Weekend Update last season, but in sketches didn't necessarily, dominate that in the way that we saw Becker, JJ do as they started their careers. But Andrew, do you agree with that choice, or is there somebody else who you think will make the biggest leap forward next season?
That's tricky to say because in my heart, yes, I want Longfellow to be the breakout. But I'm already kind of talking to other people that he's a bit divisive. Either you really like Michael Longfellow or you really don't. I've talking to somebody earlier that said they don't really like what Longfellow's bringing. And if anything, I don't think reminds me so much of Beck Bennett, but he reminds me of Norm Macdonald. And there you go with like the sardonic sarcasm, and he's kind of like playing a character, but not really playing the character. And it all depends on how he evolves as a player on the show. If he just continues to do this for 6 years, then even I am going to get kind of tired of it at a certain point. But I still think, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that James is going to be like, he just has the political stuff. Like, he just has that momentum, and he's going to be doing the political cold opens, and that's always going to get the eyeballs. So, like, I think the obvious choice is him. Just, you know, if I'm going to have to betting man, gonna have to throw it down for James, because he's just going to be anchoring the stuff that's probably going to get the most eyes. Sarah, I really don't think is going to be a big deal. Like, I can't imagine showing my mother you know, Sarah's sketches and she falling in love with them or anything. Like, I don't think she's going to hit the mass appeal. She just appeals to us. Marcelo, I think, is another one that could definitely have potential to really break out big. From what we've seen, I think he has a lot of range. He's handsome, so ladies like him, and he's funny, and so he's got a lot going on there.
He's in one of the biggest sketches of the season in the Waffle House with Jenna Ortega, who's one of the biggest stars like right now.
Yeah, and I think the mother with Pedro Pascal was another one of the biggest sketches.
Huge one.
Yeah.
And that was, very much in his voice. I think he might have helped write that. I can't remember. So yeah, I could see Marcelo being a pretty big breakout. And so I'm going to go, since you chose Longfellow, I'm going to go with Marcelo. I think that's going to be my choice.
I'd like to push back a teeny bit on two of the notes you said about Sarah and John, because don't you feel like this is too wrong. One, I feel like JAJ has already made that leap forward. Well, John's also made leap forwards. We love John. Like, look at where the SNL stats was, and look where the Saturday Night Network is in season 4. Also, if we get a name change in season 4, I need that. Like, that's
we didn't announce that yet.
Season 4. Here's the new name. It's
what should we call people for season 4?
The Diet Mug Root Beer Network Hour. I don't know.
Like the Dana Carvey show.
The Dana Carvey. Yeah.
That's our thing.
Yeah, Andrew knows what I'm going. Sorry about. Sorry. No, but like, don't we feel like? No, don't we feel? I know how I feel about it. JJ already had. If the question is about who's going to make a leap forward, JJ, that mother trucker, family listeners, did that in his first episode. He was like, "Oh, you don't know my face? Well, you will." Like he did it already. Yeah. And then in terms of star power for Sarah, while you know what's funny, I follow every single SNL cast member except for Sarah Sherman, because I'm a squirmish person. Thank you. Well, but both, I can't handle. I don't like
cheese squirmish.
Yeah. Hey, there we go. I don't like gross stuff. Like, it is not a thing for me. I've seen some of her like videos before SNL, and it just.
Mm-hmm.
I got the appeal, but I can't handle the grossness. My humor can't get past like gross stuff. I can't. However, what's happening to her is what's happening with everyone else, which I think is like a similar thing to there's an old Donald Glover joke that he told in his one of his early stand-up specials, where he goes on stage and he says, if you guys are here to like see a bunch of Troy and Abed stuff, like where it's just me, doing silly stuff you see on NBC night or whatever. That's not the exact it, but if you're here to see that like stuff I do on a sitcom, you're going to be, vastly surprised. Like, it's going to be a lot of talking about like phallic stuff and like cursing and whatnot, like what I'm doing here. The same thing, like the surprise we got with Bob Saget, versus his Full House character. Sarah Sherman is somebody who was on a network television show, which means even if she has this amazing voice in what she already does in her stand-up and her own performances, she's an incredible performer. Like, I have the absolute respect for her. Just because I don't follow her doesn't mean I don't hold her very much in revere. However, she's gaining this new skill about how to like I don't want SNL's not for families necessarily, but in doing SNL, she definitely is learning how to like mess with their audiences, which I think is something a stand-up naturally has to learn how to do. Like we all talked to stand-ups before. We know that like they kind of think about their crowd. So I used to like produce stand-up shows, and one of the first things that some of them might ask you is like, hey, what kind of crowd is it? So if she's learning how to deal with a different type of crowd through SNL, and maybe she's not learning that through audience reaction like she is with performance. She's learning that through how the show was built and produced. So I feel like she's just gaining skill into the point where if she wanted to, don't know why she would, she could do a show for your mom where she's doing Jewish Elvis and she's doing Sarah News. I mean, maybe Sarah News won't be for your mom, but maybe your mom will find it funny. Your mom's still a woman. She's just older. She had you. Like, you know, like that's the only difference in seeing your mom is she's still a woman first.
Yeah.
So like she's gaining that skill to the point where maybe she could do those types of shows. So I'm not, I think saying that she couldn't get, I think like she for sure could get to that star thing. I think that's another reason why, because she's just there skill building. She already knew who she was coming into the show, and I think she's only just going to get better. I mean, think about the explosion she had those past 2 seasons. I know that's not the question, but just what you said, like I wanted to push back against that a little bit.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Well, so
I know I'm just making my chicken skewers get colder and colder.
Okay.
Yeah, headed towards that 4.5 hour mark, TJ. So, so TJ went with Michael Longfellow. Andrew went with Marcelo. I'm not trying to tip the scales here, but I would say that if I had to make a pick, mine would probably be Marcelo, because I just do feel like the well-roundedness, I think Andrew used the word range, I think is there. I just feel like we saw him in all aspects of the show, so it's easier to put your money behind him as the one who's going to make that leap. And I also think the fact that he's like Hispanic, he brings some extra flavor to the show. He's writing things that we don't always get to see on the show. Like I think that like super underrated, because this was like the pseudo season finale and didn't get the hype, but like I think the sketch that he did in the classroom with Ana de Armas in that last episode,
right.
Yeah, like a very solid sketch that he put out there. And like that, between that and the Pedro Pascal, the mother one, I mean, I just feel like he has this voice that he could bring to the show that's a little bit different. And I think that somebody like Michael Longfellow can make that leap. But the difference is we haven't seen Michael Longfellow, produce things in the categories that Marcelo has. So I think if we're picking between the two of them, I would probably go in more of the Marcelo direction. But it's interesting because it may not necessarily be a featured player that makes that leap. It could be somebody else who is, we're more familiar with, who just might completely turn it around. And with this, break where, something that I've been thinking about a lot is like a lot of writers right now obviously are not writing their TV shows, not writing their movies, and they connect with a lot of these actors. Like I have to wonder, if you're in the SNL cast and you're thinking about sketch ideas, are you not talking to like your writer friends who are not working right now, who may be able to, pitch you a few things over the summer that you could bring to the show next year? Like these are things that could potentially be happening, and something that we may talk about a lot in season 49. So
John, they're out there in these streets striking, trying to get some good pay, which they should
both
be.
100%. Yeah. But
I mean, either way, everybody's going to come back hungry when they finally come back.
They better pay these writers. I need my shows to come back. I'm an old person. I want my stories. Like I want Abbott on there end of September. It better happen.
Yeah, we're getting a little close, but we will see.
It's crazy. It's still going on. It's been 2 months, guys.
We'll see. So we'll know in a few days if the actual actors will go on strike, and in which case that will.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That will be
like it's gonna happen.
And you could just see like Fox and CBS are just like pumping out more like reality show garbage, like Claim to Fame and other stuff. Stars on Mars.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic, number 3 here, which is
I'm not sorry at all.
Don't be sorry. Which is about Keenan Thompson, because that is going to be obviously a major storyline once season 49 eventually begins, which it will be 20 years since we saw Kenan Thompson join Saturday Night Live, and he is headed towards his 20th season. It almost feels like we don't even talk about him anymore because he's just so naturally ingrained in the show. At least that's what I find sometimes. But I was curious from the guys, because I would like to talk about his legacy, since we're going to have this big storyline coming into it, which is with Kenan Thompson going into his 20th season. Should he be considered one of the greatest cast members of all time? And is he a top 5 cast member of all time? So, does anybody want to go first here?
Yes, I do so badly.
All right, TJ, go ahead. Yeah.
I think Andrew and I are just going to agree on this. I hate to say it. So just running it back.
I may surprise you. You never
Well,
know.
you may surprise me. Yeah, that's true. But in this case, I don't think you will. Should he be considered a greatest cast member of all time? No. No. Now, is he one of the most tenured, and is he up there? And is he an all-star and a legend? I don't even say he's an icon. Absolutely. But if we're talking greatest, if we're talking Bill Hader, if we're talking Phil Hartman, if we're talking Wig, I feel like Keenan is. You know what? This last season was really good, though. I don't think
I'd argue actually
if we're
last
talking,
season was not a good season for Keenan. Actually,
I will
If
just also
we're-
make the point, which I said this on a couple of analytics podcasts, which is Keenan Thompson, for only the third time as in his SNL career, led the cast in sketch appearances this last season again.
and
So,
he's
second season
great.
now.
He can anchor. He's versatile. He works well. I think he's at the point that like the lead of Law and Order or the Grey's Anatomy is having, where he's doing it so long that he's having too much fun that like to like challenge. He's just good. Like he's just good. I wouldn't, but if we're talking greatest, let's say greatest, I'm putting in the context of your Mount Rushmore. As much as I can't say that, I don't think I put him in my Mount Rushmore, but I think he'd be top 10, top 15. The reason I'm trying to get at the not greatest of all time is I used to have a physics teacher in high school, and she taught for like 30 years. And she was a good professor, but honestly, she was kind of a dick. Like she was really rude to a lot of her students. And like, look, just because you've been at your job a long time doesn't always mean that you're the best at your job. Like,
Fair.
Keenan is a great all-time cast member. He is a great all-time cast member. He's one of the greater all-time cast members. But if I'm doing like a top 5, I don't think I put him in my greatest cast member of all time. I'm open to myself being wrong if I like really sat down hard and thought about this, because I did read the email a few days ago. But like, I don't think I put him in that greatest. Like, I don't think your tenure means you're the best, because I think of somebody like Key and Peele. They did that show for 5 years. They did Mad TV a little bit before then. I think they're excellent sketch performers. They're incredible, but they haven't done it for 20. They did it for a long time. What I'm trying to get at here is that like he's great. Is he a top 5? No, but he's up there and he's close. Like maybe top 10. Like maybe he's 8 or 9.
Okay.
You know.
Interesting.
But yeah.
All right, let's get Andrew in here. What do you think?
I guess I should try to provide the counterpoint. Because
I told you we would agree on this.
Because I do agree, and that's like.
By the way, I don't want to put a black man down either. Let me make that very
I mean,
clear.
neither do I.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing that either. But
And I want to ask about that, but I want to let Andrew go.
Yeah, but like Eddie Murphy's there. Like,
you want to ask about putting black men down?
No, I want to. So let me be clear.
You know, I always knew there was something about you, John.
let me be clear on what I was going to say, which is and maybe I'll address this to TJ. But is the fact that SNL has been dominated by majority white men throughout their history. Is that a factor here to consider, the fact that, like it hasn't been the easiest for black men to come into the show and do what they do. And then Keenan obviously had to deal with no black women on the show for a very long time either. So like there's other factors to consider throughout his career here that I just wonder play into like looking back at the longevity of his career and the phases of Keenan Thompson that we've seen.
I'm gonna. As much as I love to mention how much racism is out there in these streets, and it is. This is one of those cases where I'm gonna say, while yes, race was a factor in SNL. Like, you have people like Demetra Vance or Ellen Cleghorn who, did we really see them, go as far as they really could have gone? I think SNL's black women issue is far bigger than some black men, because we have seen great black men. We've seen Tim Meadows. We've seen Eddie goddamn Murphy. Eddie. Now, if we're talking Eddie, like even if Eddie's time wasn't that long, I think he might be on that Mount Rushmore for myself. If we had to pick a black cast member, like even though I didn't see much of Tracy's time, I saw more on 30 Rock than on like SNL. Like I think while I'm always gonna want more black men, I love that we've had like, what is it, when we had like Red, Shay, and Keenan in the cast. We had like brothers, and we had at least 2 sisters in the cast. Like, I'm always gonna want like more black people. I don't need the show to become in live in color because I have that show. I have 4 seasons of it on DVD. It's great. I know it's 5 seasons. But like,
noticed you did not buy the 5th season.
But like that aside, like I don't need it to become in live in color. I just love that like there's so much more of a black voice now, like sketches like Black Jeopardy, even though I think it's so funny that show was written by a white guy. It's a great sketch. But like I do think that
Tucker and Chai.
I do think in the lexicon of like the first 20, 30 years, it does play a factor, but I think you've had enough black men still do really great work. Like Tim, like Eddie, like Keenan. I'd even say Chris Wright has done good work, you know. Yeah. So I think it could be far better. But the fact that Lauren wanted Richard Pryor to host the first episode, I think like race could definitely have been handled way better at that show. But I am glad that we got like some good, like it didn't feel like it was a closed door to black people fully. It just felt like with most shows where it could be a lot better.
Well, I just want to point out, you know, I'm coming off of just last night having revisited Elliot Gould's last episode with the original cast, and poor Garrett Morris in that episode plays a monkey from Wizard of Oz.
Are you serious?
A man in jail and a drunken bum on a subway, and that's
take back everything I said. Take back everything I said. You know what? My recency bias is 2007 post, so forget everything that I just said.
You got to celebrate every win when that shit can happen.
Andrew, thank you for coming in with the history. Oh my God. Yeah. Forget that.
Yeah.
Forget everything I just said.
Yeah. So, I love Keenan. Keenan's great. And really, I think he's had quite possibly, especially since it's gone on so long, the most interesting arc of almost anybody on this on the show, because I mean, I was there. What he did, season 29, he was added. Yeah, that would be the 20. And I was whatever age that I was, 17 or so. I was like the kid from All That.
First of all, you don't say it like that. You gotta say like the guy from All That.
Well, no, it was weird though. It was super weird to be like,
if you weren't that age, if you were 17,
it was. No, trust me, it was at that age. It was super bizarre to see Keenan move from All That, which at a certain point I was like, oh, that's too kiddie for me. Like I don't watch All That anymore. And now he's on SNL, and you're like, well, this is weird. And it did haunt him. He said it like that stigma followed him. And I like you just watch him slowly build up the courage, and the audience slowly gets more and more used to Keenan, to the point where you get to, you know, the 2010s or whatever, where now Keenan is basically one of the most celebrated cast members on the show. You know, he's been in some of my favorite sketches, has some of my favorite moments in the show. Nobody delivers finely tuned nonsense like Keenan. You know, I love Willie. Willie always works. Like, you know, what is it? DC Tibbins with the Woody Harrelson killer sketch. Love that stuff. So yes, he should absolutely be considered one of the greatest cast members of all time. Is he a top 5? I don't think so, but that's also like, I'm not a person that can craft a top 5, because
really,
no, I call BS.
No, I don't
really.
No, I mean, I can't even, like, maybe the default is like number 1 is Phil Hartman, but then on another day you could totally say, no, it's actually Jan Hooks, and here's why. And like, yeah, no, you're right. Or it's Dan Aykroyd, or it's Jane Curtin. Like, you know, like I love so many different people from the show for so many different reasons that it's hard to like quantify just the top 5 and say, well, then, but no, actually this person's like less than this person, you know. So I'm not very good at that.
Okay.
But I could see a certain top 5 where Keenan would be in there for sure. You know, like top 5 greatest legacies left by the show, you know, and there's like something like that, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, yes and no, basically. But I do love Keenan, but I think it is, if he's not going to be taking over the show, which I kind of thought was theorizing. It's like, this is why he's staying on so long. Is like he's becoming a den mother and like, learning the ropes of the show. I think he produced that all that reboot. So I was like, oh, he's getting his producer, sea legs and stuff. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Didn't he say no to doing that? Like, I think he was asked that in an interview, and he was like, "No." Like, I think he explicitly
no.
He explicitly turned it down, or not turned down. He just is like, "No."
Yeah, and there was a couple times last season where Keenan seemed a little bit too just not in the scene. A couple times where he started to bring it down a little bit for me. I remember, I can't think of specific sketches. I know there's one where he was a game show host, and it was like might have been that Jenna Ortega episode, and he just seemed a little bit lost in the sauce. So I do think that 20 years is a good time to hang it up for him, especially since I don't think anybody's going to beat that. I think he can very safely hang up the hat and say, I'm pretty sure SNL is not going to last until season 70, because I don't even know if NBC is going to last that long. So, yeah.
If anybody was going to do it, they already left. Shout out to Bobby Moynihan. I love Bobby Moynihan, and I think you asked him in that interview with him about that Rick and Morty bit. Like if there was anyone who might have done it, it would have been Bobby Moynihan.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think legacy is a really important factor here, which is like if we're talking about the top 5 most important cast members of all time, I do think that Keenan certainly has to be up there. Greatest, to me, I always describe the word greatest as accomplishments. It's often an analytical or technical term, especially when you look at sports and you start to rank people. And, in terms of longevity, obviously Keenan has all of the stats. He's always, I don't think anyone's ever going to break the record of the most sketches of all time now that Keenan's going to stop at whatever he's going to get to. But if you're talking about the average sketches per episode, which is a factor in terms of actually looking at, how somebody does on a given episode on average. I mean, Keenan is nowhere near like the Phil Hartman level, which I think is, often consideration for, 1, 2, or 3 of all time. And I think he's probably somewhere closer to like the top 30-ish. He produces on average about 4 sketches per episode in his now almost 20-year career. So for me, he's had some amazing moments. Legacy for sure. I would probably in the end rank him somewhere between 15 and 8, maybe, if I had to put it down. I think that's
so arbitrary numbers. This is why I don't like these lists. 15 and 8.
One day I'll have to do this.
I said I could see him top. I could even honestly, I think I could also say Keenan Thompson is one of the greatest sketch performers of all time. Like if we're talking,
that's best, right? Because that's if you're saying is he one of the best cast members of all time. So if you had to make,
I meant like not SNL
in a
specific.
Lab. Oh, okay, yeah, but sure.
Yeah, I meant like saying. I would put like him, Keegan Michael Key, like David Allen Greer, like why are they all just black dudes? Like Kristen Wiig. Like if we're talking like greatest like sketch performers of all time, not just from SNL, I'd put him in that list. Like, and he might be top 5.
Sure, because I would say some of the best sketch performers of all time in the history of Saturday Night Live are not some of the greatest cast members of all time. So you could look at them and be like, they put, So in turn, and what I mean by that is like, they are ideal for sketches. They have produced some of the, best sketches ever, but they're not some of the greatest cast members because they don't have the analytics to back up the fact that they have had these amazing careers in the show. So that's like an interesting debate that we could get into one day. But
like Heidi being one of the best Weekend Update correspondents ever. And I think she's a great sketch performer, but maybe I wouldn't put her in this greatest sketch performer conversation, but I put her in the Weekend Update, conversation.
Now, let me just say this. Hypothetically, Keenan Thompson does stay on the show 5 more years, and he ends up producing year after year after year after year over the next 5 years at the tail end of whatever his career. I mean, we haven't seen another career that compares to this, but just saying in terms of longevity, he just crushes it and dominates over the next few years. I believe he would break into my top 5 because I don't think it's over yet.
Well, the thing is that all depends on if Brian Tucker continues to stay, because that is his continual writing partner. And I think that's, I'm not sure if, he would be able to cleanly find another collaborator after so many years with Tucker.
Keenan will for sure. He's like you said, the den mother of the show. I think, and apparently, like I think most new cast members, at least in the past few years when I've watched interviews with them, have talked about Keenan being such a, when they talk about like, oh, is anyone you're gelling well with on the cast? They're like, oh, maybe it's one person. And Keenan's always been really great. Like people constantly are singing the praises of this guy, which also, as you know, in Hollywood, that's a great thing when you have other people, you know, like singing your praises, saying like, oh, this person's so nice. You know, like, because Jonah Hill's definitely not getting that right now. So you have so many people saying so many kind things. I think it'd be easy for him to find other collaborators. I don't know what his relationship with the writers is, but like the man's been on the show for 20 years. And even if that doesn't make you the best person in the world, that for sure means people like you and love working with you. So I think it'd be, and he could say, I love how you saying have him stay on for 5 years, which could be like someone's whole SNL career. You're saying it like it's nothing, because honestly, it's like that. He could do.
It would be 20% of his current career.
Exactly.
It's so that for me is what's interesting here. But like I said, I just want to emphasize the fact that again, he led the cast in sketch appearances in his 19th season on the show. Like it's not like this is not a Daryl Hammond situation where somebody's coming in to do a specific part. He is being written into sketches by all writers. People continue to want to work for him, and whether you think he produces or not, clearly the show does. So for me, it's like I just think to me that's like sort of like LeBron in his later age is producing still in the NBA. Like it's like I'm just saying, for an NBA player, it's like it becomes, to me, like this is not a physical performance in the way that you would look at a professional athlete. It's not exactly the same, but it is to me fascinating that he still has the energy to like put up high numbers every night so late in his career. So that's why I think it's definitely worth celebrating, especially if he has a great 20th season.
Because he's been doing sketches since he was a toddler.
Yeah. It is in his blood.
And went to the adult sketch show. The man is.
I just don't think he knows what to do if he's not doing sketch. Like I really don't think he knows what to do with himself.
Y'all really don't understand how I grew up with this man. This man was on all that. Then he was Fat Albert. Then doing SNL. Like this, and then he had a sitcom. He was
you missing Keenan and
had the sitcom, and then had the sitcom get canceled. Like this man.
Oh yeah,
like
he's been a part of our lives for a long time, and he will continue to be.
John is saying okay.
Let's okay, DJ. Let's move on. So we're 3 topics down. We got 3 more topics to go. So I hope you're enjoying the show. If you are, let us know in the comments. Let us know who's winning so far.
Yeah, nobody has said who's winning.
Yeah, we need to know. We need to know who's crushing, who's dominating the debates here. So fascinating to always hear everybody's opinion. So we're going to get right back into it. But first, I need to thank our sponsor for today's podcast. And yes, we have one. And it is our friends over at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival up here in Montreal, which is going down towards the end of July. Starts July 14th, wraps up July 29th. But really, if you haven't been here for the festival, it's that last week of shows, the 26, 27, 28, 29. It's just incredible to be here. Basically, they block off a few different blocks of different clubs here and different comedy clubs and different bars, and they have shows going all night. They have a hotel here where they have like podcasts running. It's just it's comedy dream to come here. And if you love stand up, if you love performances, definitely make sure to make your way up to Montreal. And this year we have SNL alumni Leslie Jones, who will be headlining a gala on July 29th. So if you want to see her perform, Please Don't Destroy is on a tour now as well. So July 28th, if you wanted to make it up here, we have some former SNL writers. And also keep in mind, SNL producers, they come up to Just for Laughs every single year to watch new talent. Marcelo Hernandez last year was in the New Faces show. So if you wanted to potentially see the future of Saturday Night Live, you can see it if you came up to Just for Laughs. So I definitely encourage you doing that. We had so much fun going there last year and getting to meet all the comedians. So if you'd like to do that, make sure to head to montreal.hahaha.com to get your tickets for Just for Laughs, and they are available now. And if you end up being in Montreal and you're one of our listeners, please let me know, because I'd love to see you while you're here. So make sure to do that and come to Just for Laughs. All right, beautiful. Guys, ready to get into our next few topics?
Yes.
God, that's a great URL. That's just a top-notch URL. That's amazing. I did not know that.
That's awesome.
Also, you're saying I can meet the Steve Higgins? Oh.
Yes,
oh
yeah.
God, I love Steve Higgins.
Oh no, shade to Steve. Just, you could meet these producers. Like, oh yay, Steve.
Well, it's cool, right?
Hey, man, I love Steve Higgins.
Yeah,
I love Steve Higgins.
For sure. Okay, all right. Let's.
Just for Laughs is the. Oh,
go ahead.
I just like Just for Laughs is the reason I like. That's the first traveling outside of the United States that I want to do. Like that's that and maybe Italy like are the reasons I want to like travel internationally. So like that has been like a dream of mine to go to that festival.
Italy just existing.
I'm saying it like in the support of the ad. Just for Less is amazing. It's his legend. If you can go. Like, gosh, like what an event.
100%. All right, we brought up earlier.
You know what? I can support ads. I can.
Yeah. We brought up earlier something that happened this season that blew up outside of the show, which was Lisa from Temecula, Aego's character. And this is definitely an interesting discussion because I know that a lot of our listeners didn't fully get why this character seemed to blow up outside of the show, because on the show itself, it may not have been as strong as some other characters we saw this season. But for whatever reason, this character resonated with a ton of people, a lot of whom don't regularly watch the show, but they knew Lisa from Temecula, so much so that the show felt compelled to bring back Lisa again in the Ana de Armas episode. And we had really our first instance of a recurring character in the season, something that has gone away from the show completely. Never in the history of the show have we had a lack of recurring characters the way that we do now in this era of the show. And I wonder why. And I wonder, should SNL bring back more recurring characters? So that will be our topic number 4 here. TJ, let's start with you on this one. Should SNL bring back recurring characters? All right, Andrew wants to go. All right, let's go to Andrew.
Yeah. Well, no, I would argue that Aristotle tried it just the previous season and seemingly got smacked down for doing that, and that was a thing that a lot of SNL fans wanted more of. Now, granted, Lisa from Temecula, that's an easy thing to figure out. People that don't watch sketch comedy or watch SNL, they just love to watch the people laugh and break down, and they don't care about the actual, contents of the sketch. They just saw the chaos and everybody was laughing and breaking, and that's what they liked. But they're probably not going to tune in to the show. They're not going to tune into the second iteration of the sketch where that stuff didn't happen. Reoccurring characters, very tricky situation for the show at all times. You could do it too much. There's not enough variation. I would say the second Lisa sketch did not feel like there was any variation at all, to the point where I could not, I couldn't tell the difference, honestly, beyond it's not as chaotic. Do I want to see reoccurring characters? Yes. I mean, I think you still get them on Weekend Update. You'll get the reoccurring characters. But in a sketch context, yes, very much more rare. And I think you just need... the show just doesn't understand how to do it anymore, which is a bizarre thing where all you got to do is you build up some good characters and then you just throw them in different situations. And, that's what you got to do. You can't just continually do the same sketch over and over. Now, granted, I do like stuff like the X-Porn Stars where it is just plug and play nonsense. So again, there's exceptions to the rules. But yeah, I mean, you get a strong core of characters and then just throw them into different situations. Sometimes you could do an okey doke where a sketch starts and you're like, oh, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, these characters, of course they'd be part of the situation. Or you craft a thread of a narrative like the Kyle Mooney, Leslie Jones pre-tapes where, there was you can watch all those back to front and, there's a whole story there. Also, Don Novello used to love to do that, where like the Olympia Cafe sketches. Everybody kind of remembers just cheeseburger, but no, there was. If you watch all of those sketches back to front, there was a narrative about this restaurant that actually has a finality to it. There is a final last sketch to those. So I don't know if this newer batch of writers just doesn't really isn't really steeped in that, or it's stuff like having Jost still there. Jost, as much as I love him, he is kind of the plug and play, X-Porn Stars and stuff, where I don't think there's much variation to those sketches. So yes, but you just got to do it right, and it's not that terribly hard to do it right, honestly. You just I feel the show has plenty of characters that you can bring these back easily and throw them into a different situation. And there you go. You've got reoccurring characters. And it doesn't even need to be like the first time around this, like it was a grand slam hit. You know, like Wayne's World started at 10-1 and wasn't terribly well received, but they kept on doing it. And, you know, eventually, you know, you just kind of build up the sketch from there. So, yes, they should, but do it right.
TJ?
Do I have to pretend to disagree?
No. That's not what we want.
Because like, I can't think of it. I am so in favor of recurring characters, but just at like a healthy rate. Like, I recently watched the hell is the Rob Schneider character within The Office?
Richmeister.
Making copies guy?
Yeah, Richmeister.
Yeah, I watched all of those recently. Like, I was like, let me see what the big deal is about this. Like, let me just watch all of them. And I was like, oh, I can see like the appeal of like a couple of these. Like, it's kind of cute, but also it's like they really kept going. Now, granted, I get watching this guy. Yeah, God.
But if you just watched them, though, you would see how eventually then they started getting into like misdirects with the character, where like a sketch will start, and then like all of a sudden they walk into the copy room, like, oh, what? Oh, Richmeister. I guess, you know, they did get they were kind of
watching those back to back may have been my downfall because we're in a binging culture. But I'm be honest, a binging culture has helped other characters like Anthony Crispino or like, oh my God, the amount of times I've watched like the Bill Hader Stefan compilation or whatever, like binging helps.
See, that's why like Stefan doesn't really work for me as much as it does for everybody else because I feel it's way too plug and play. Does not each moment or each iteration doesn't really move the bar that far. So, you know, it's like you could say this is the third, the eighth, the fifth, or the first Stefan, you know, and I'd basically be like, yeah, sure. This is probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's the appeal. He was voted the most popular character by our fans. So like I'm going to go with our listeners on this one. That gave me more emotion than the question. Like you come
I know I'm in the minority on that.
I know.
On that
also,
idea.
I just finished Barry, so you do not come for Stefan.
I ain't coming at Bill Hader. I love Bill Hader. I'm not the biggest Stefan fan, and I do feel that character does like there's way too many outings with it with very little variation, and it would get very.
Yourself, sir.
I am. I'm not saying this is your opinion, TJ.
Fair. No, I know, and I'm just giving you the energy of a violin.
Yeah. No, we're an hour in, and now we're getting fueled up.
Yeah, but like 7 minutes into the last one, you were talking about poop.
Oh God, that one just yeah.
That one was so sloppy.
Counterpoint. But no, in terms of bringing back recurring characters, like I can't offer much of a fight because I do agree. I want it at a balance between what we have now and what we had in our recent golden era with Sandberg and Wig and Hader. I want some kind of balance. I don't need to see Gilly and the Target Lady. I mean, I love Gilly, but the Target Lady could like pass. Like, I don't need to see those characters every episode or even once every 3 episodes. Give me maybe like a Principal Fry level. Like, give me one a year. Give me one a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where I see somebody, maybe 2 if it's good. It needs to be good. But Principal Fry, I feel like they wrote that character out, even though every single one of them, not every single one was a hit. Most of them hit for me, if I'm being honest. I really enjoyed that sketch. But like, it was just enough that I missed it. So when it came back, I was glad that it was there.
Yeah. Well, that's like Keenan, like Willie for me, where it's just like once a year, like, oh, Willie's here, yes, you know, and you get excited. Or like the Tostinos sketches where like they turn that into like a yearly event of like, ooh, when's it gonna happen?
Yeah, and I don't even need to see yearly.
I think, sorry, I was going to say, TJ, I think you hit on something really interesting, which was that you said that you watched and binge the Richmeister stuff because you're binging culture. You're like, you wanted to binge a bunch of stuff. And I could so relate to what you're saying because when I was younger and I wanted to watch, sketches, whether it was from Mad TV or SNL, I wanted to watch these characters and see the character development and watch all the sketches in a row. And those were the ones that I was passing off to my friends. The one-off ones without the same characters were not recognizable to me as a younger viewer. But I think as I got older, I got more sophisticated in my SNL watching. And I have to think that as SNL is trying to attract younger viewers, characters are such an important part of that attraction, especially for people who are like, oh, I can watch sketches anywhere. It's like, oh, I recognize that character. That character is from SNL. And I feel like we've lost that here. So I feel like the thing that you enjoy about the characters is something that's been taken away. And I want that back. And you agree with that, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Though I do feel that I'm still kind of on the side of where they've been, of instead of having reoccurring characters, it to have more creative one-offs and have that be a chance, like that one blows up, out of nowhere. Like again, like Lisa from Temecula. I don't think that's a reoccurring character. Like I don't think they should do another one again. But I think if you throw more stuff at the wall, you're going to have more chances to go viral just by having a good sketch. And I think you gotta play.
Andrew, let me ask something. Do you understand why SNL brought back Lisa from Temecula?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I was bracing myself because it was the Debbie Downer thing. Of course, they're going to bring this back. That was huge, and like you said, it broke out of the usual sphere of the show, even on viral videos from SNL. Like, that one just went huge. But again, it was all mostly because just people were breaking, and I would look at the comments. It's like, I just love when they all break, and it's like, well, then you're not going to like the show because that's what they're not supposed to do. So, maybe the show isn't for you.
No, I had a thought where, like, because I was thinking, what are the other big popular sketches that we had this season? We had the Mario Kart, we had the Pittsburgh Pascal dressed in the Medea clothes.
I mean, I would say that most of the big sketches on YouTube were very unique one-off ideas. I don't think you'd need to bring back Pedro's mother character or whatever, but it did hit. What you need to learn from that is like, oh, maybe this more Latino-centric slice of life is something to explore in another realm. Let's continue on with these ideas, these characters that we could pull from. Not let's just do that again.
I was gonna pose the thing to see, like, are we seeing the host do too many characters, and that's the reason they wouldn't come back? But I don't think there's really legs that stay on, because you had like the Chloe and Heidi thing where they were playing like Debbie Holt and Stacey Bussey, which like.
Well, I think we have to take Weekend Update out of this discussion, right? Because Weekend Update is like naturally bred for characters coming back to the desk. I think that it's the schedule.
And I think that's where
the place where it's happening. Yeah, that's where they directed it to be the only place. So I'm just like.
So really, the question should be: should SNL bring back recurring sketch characters?
Yes,
that is that's the better question
in theory, right? And then obviously the peak of this is the 70s, right, where you have the first 5 seasons of the show, and it feels like every sketch was intended to be a sketch, for the most part, of where these characters in the sketch are going to come back at a certain point. And it was like that's what dominated the culture then. And I feel like the culture has completely changed from the writing perspective now, where it's like we're writing for this host this week, this moment, and we're not like, oh, here is a great character for this cast member that just happens to work well with this host. And I'm wondering if there needs to be more of a balance here. So that's something that I'm going to be watching for next year, because I think it's going to hurt the show if they don't do it.
Yeah, posed to you, John, what would you, just from last season, what would you think would be a good sketch character to bring back for next season? Like what do you want to see come back?
Well, I have to think about that off the top of my head. I can't think of one right now, but I would say that I think that a lot of the problems that we had with cast members who were not on the show as much as we needed them to be. So like, I guess Punky would be a good example, was that Punky really needs a recurring character. So, like that's the type of thing that's like.
Punky just needs screen time.
Punky needs screen time. She has the voice. She's funny. She just needs screen time.
Right, but she got screen time from the fact that she played Lisa from Temecula's sister, friend, whatever it was. So, she was automatically put back in that second sketch because she's going to take that 5th seat on the right. But the question is,
but that's not even a real role. That's just
but it's something, because it's like they're never going to write a Lisa from Temecula sketch that doesn't have Punky in it unless she's not in the cast. So that's just how the show works. Is they wouldn't do that. So the question is like, what other moments throughout the season deserve that. And I don't know, because I haven't watched, unless I pose the question during a roundtable and I'm like, should they bring this back? I haven't been watching sketches and really felt like the sketches were written for recurring characters. And I think like
I agree completely.
I think the best sketches that do that, by the way, are the ones that are like, here is a normal situation, and then weird person walks into the situation, or weird person is there and normal people walk in, or whatever order you do it. And I just don't think that they're writing those sketches as much.
Well, and that's very much a more like character-based sketch versus conceptual-based sketch, where the idea is the concept of the sketch, not the concept of the character that comes into it. So I think they're working on a more strangely on a higher level than you would usually see for sketch comedy. I think it's more easier in a sense to fill out a show with reoccurring characters than it is to honestly come up with try your best. We had a lot of game shows and stuff last season, so not everything was like cutting edge creative ideas, but it's harder to do what they're doing now, and I do appreciate I appreciate that.
I'll say that if there were characters, by the way, that I think that should be brought back, I think they're Sarah Sherman ones that I would say, like, the idea of like the ones where she just gets like super weird and stuff like that. I think those could be recurring characters. And a lot of times those are the questions I think we asked on the roundtables.
I don't know. I got to go with what, I can't remember who said it earlier, but about like, we're seeing more recurring, like we're seeing more concepts. Like even when I'm thinking about like concepts that could come back, I'm thinking, could you do Waffle House again? Just like different craziness. But as I'm thinking about it, they're really doing a lot of stuff, which rather I do think is admirable, because they're not doing a thing where they go to the well too often. I mean, except with game shows. But
honestly, do you want to see that Waffle Show sketch regurgitated to you, where two people have a serious conversation while craziness happens inside, and that just happens again? If
it makes me laugh. Yeah.
But would it make you laugh? You already know how it plays out.
I don't think we're asking the right question, because I think that no, we definitely do not want to see Waffle House, because the game of the sketch has already been delivered to us. So now we understand what the game is before we see it.
With the reoccurring character,
but the characters, like Jenna Ortega and Marcel, was it Jenna and Marcelo? Yeah. They're not characters. I mean, they're just like playing dramatic teenagers, but it's the characters.
If they want to continue to have more dramatic scenes and escalating bizarre sequences, then yes, that's how you do it.
You don't
just bring back Waffle House, but yeah.
Have a couple divorcing, like have Mikey and like Heidi divorcing in the foreground, and then in the background you have like, I don't know, Eggo right through on a tractor in the, like, I don't know, something stupid. It was a great sketch. Like, great. There's enough insane stuff that you could come up with. But also, this thing, I'm not a sketch writer. I'm not the expert in this case. What I will say, though, is they've had so many concepts of like, I feel like, yes, they've had like weird person come in, because that's like a type of sketch, like the flat booty instructors with Megan Thee Stallion. But like, when I'm thinking about like, who do I want to see again outside of Weekend Update, it's really tough. Like, is everyone just saving? Besides Aristotle, was everyone just saving for Update? Like,
it's an interesting thought. I mean, I wonder if it's a top-down thing. So, like, from the head writers down, just the way that they write the show. But we'll table this for now and get back into it another time, because I want to get to our next topic, which is we had 3 canceled shows that were announced and that we never got to see in May. And I want to know from the guys over here, between Pete Davidson, Kieran Culkin, and Jennifer Coolidge, which host do you for sure want to see host in season 49? So anybody want to take this first?
I'll go. It comes down to either or. I mean, I guess we've seen Kieran before, but I really enjoyed his episode. That was one of my favorites of 47, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Early.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was farther than that, right?
I know. Yeah. Time works in mysterious ways. So early home run for that season for me. So I would be definitely down to see Kieran, but I guess I'm gonna throw my money down on Jennifer. Well, I'm sorry, because she's another one, I don't think a lot of people know that, she does have a sketch comedy background. She was a groundling She was actually briefly on the cast of Roseanne's Fox sketch show Saturday Night Special with yeah. Yep, that existed for about 6 episodes in 95 or 96. Laura Keitlinger was on it too.
Wow, the peak of sketch comedy.
Oh, this
Yes.
sounds great. I gotta watch
No.
this. This sounds fantastic.
There's only there's half of, I think, the first episode and then the final episode you can find out there on the internet on archive.org. Not well represented and mostly lost. I have seen the finale. It's not a good show, but Jennifer's hilarious. You know, she's in the Christopher Guest movies. And so I would actually, I would love to see what she could do on SNL, because I think this is a very groundlings forward era of the show. So I think that she would fit into the contained chaos that the show is kind of operating, or at least was operating on last season. Who knows how it's going to shake out in 49, but and Pete, just God love him, but no, I'm not. I don't really want to see him host, to be honest. I'm sorry. And then, you know, that's one little bit of just nasty negativity for the night. It's just no, Pete, no, thank you.
TJ, what do you think?
I think Andrew said negativity a little too strong. No.
What did I? What?
No.
I don't want to
It's
hear
more-
this playback.
It's more for the listener than for myself. Look, I'm a massive. I don't say I am. I'm a big Succession fan. A big Succession fan. But I thought Kieran's episode was mid, except for that cable sketch. Because honestly, who doesn't hate having to deal with like call centers? Like, I mean, come on now. John, do they have call centers in Canada?
What do you mean by that?
Oh, okay. No, a
John
call center
works at a call center.
Wait, really?
No, I
That's
don't.
where these things go.
Oh, like a podcast.
No. A call center is. Do you know what Comcast is?
No.
No, it's okay. No, I'm not making fun of you. I'm genuine question. A call center is basically it's a company that like has like a bunch of customer service people. You can call them for like technical support on a product, and basically sometimes there might be an automated line.
Oh, like the Kumail Nanjiani thing from SNL, where they called and the guy was like sitting in the.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, places like that where
there
it's
you
like
go.
a lot of office cubicles. You call some. I don't know if they like. I know that's a dumb question, but I'm actually glad I asked you now because you didn't know. So I was like, am I being condescending?
Just love that John's always like, oh yeah, like SNL, I get it.
Yeah, no, but so it's
Well,
one
in
of those
Canada,
places
when you call for help, people just come to your door.
Oh,
that is
man,
not a thing here,
damn,
John. Man,
Bird.
damn, Canada sounds
You got
great.
us.
Oh man, you got us.
Most of our calls go to India.
A lot of So here in the States, John, a lot of like call center or like customer representative like support like work goes to call centers in India because usually I think it's like cheaper to hire. Is why people do that.
That
But,
sounds like
yeah.
America, yeah.
Just wait until
Yes,
this gets
it's-
to Jennifer Coolidge.
Yes,
It's
which
all
is
gonna wrap back around.
Okay, yeah, it's gonna come back around. Sorry. How the hell did I get a succession of call centers? Because of the whatever the
Culkin.
call
The
center
Culkin.
Kieran
Yeah,
Culkin
yeah.
sketch.
Right.
Yeah.
We
So,
talked about
look.
Spectrum and you got lost.
Thank you. Exactly. Rolling it back.
Yeah, and
going
how
back,
he
sorry.
just completely disregarded the men's room sketch, by the way, also.
Yeah, no, that was a great
Like an
great
all-time.
episode.
We also didn't get a
Great
succession
episode.
sketch that I and probably Nicole, if you're out there, wanted to see. All right, like we wanted that succession sketch.
I
don't
still
care
get
how
comments
bad
on
it
Twitter
was.
about that.
Yeah,
We
I
had,
know, I don't-
just to clarify, the listeners, we had posted the list of cut sketches from that night, one of them being Black Succession, and throughout Succession's final season.
Wait, it was
I got-
Black Succession?
Yeah, it was Black Succession, and throughout, so that was like in the tweet, and throughout the final season of Succession that just aired over the last few months, I got so many tweets being like, "Where's the Black Succession sketch?" And I'm like, it never came out.
aired.
I remember that tweet because I remember you on the guys. I don't know if I was on the show at that time. I think I was, but like somebody was talking about the cut Succession sketch. I didn't know that it was a Black Succession sketch. Are you kidding? Then again, wouldn't it just be the Black Trump sketch?
Yeah, that's what I'm
probably
wondering.
just
It
the
might have
Black Trump
been,
sketch, yeah.
and maybe why it was cut.
Yeah, I can see that. Like I said,
Yeah.
but that aside, I love Succession.
knows?
Love
Who
Kieran
knows?
Culkin because I'm also a big Scott Pilgrim fan. but I think his episode that he hosted was mid. Because he was nervous, which sucks because Kieran Culkin is great. Pete Davidson.
But now that he's done it, he can come back even stronger.
That's true. That's very true.
You
I have a
know?
lot of faith in him. I loved him in Succession. He's amazing. And Pete Davidson, I've seen what this ninja could do for 8 years. Is that how long he was on the show? I saw what he was able to do for a long time. You mean to tell me he stepped up for a smoke and they're asking him to come back and host? You can wait.
Stepped out for more than a smoke.
It's true, but I don't need to see you just yet, Pete. I love you, but clearly they love him more than we need.
Well, they're doing that Kristen Wiig thing where she came back to host and meet the very next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why you're.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why y'all disrespecting Kate like that. If anyone this should have happened to, it should have been Kate. We would have been complaining about it, but we would have been more okay with it than Pete. Clearly Lauren has a favorite child.
Now, do you think, considering Barbie, is Kate on the docket for maybe the premiere?
As somebody who is excited for that Barbie movie, I don't care about the Oppenheimer. So, it looks boring. A bunch of old white dudes in hats.
It's history.
Barbie.
You're more of an Oppenheimer guy.
What is history done for Black people, Andrew?
Good point. Good point.
Why would I care?
That's why we got to know about it, TJ. That's why we got to know about it. We got to know what they did to Garrett in that Elliot Gould episode, so we cannot do it again.
But Ryan Gosling and Issa Rae, I'm in. But that aside, so
I think Margot Robbie, by the way, would be the pick if they went that direction.
I'd love to see Issa Rae come back, though.
I'd love to see. I did like Issa Rae. That's besides the point. I think Kate doing for Barbie, that'd be wonderful. At least Kate cameo, Margot hosting. Margot is one of my favorite actresses of this current millennium. Honestly, think she's an incredible actress. But that's besides the point. We've seen Pete recently. It's so crazy they asked him back that close, but I get it because of Bupkis, and I understand the why. However, what I'm trying to get at is we don't need to see Pete that soon. You could leave. It's like when you see a friend a little too close to hangout times. We don't need to see each other that much. But Miss Coolidge, Queen Coolidge. Who doesn't want to see that? I mean, people love Jennifer Coolidge. Guys love her from American Pie. And
sorry, I just want to say, Andrew Dick went to the bathroom, so everybody can take a shot. Just cross it off your bingo board. Go ahead.
Jennifer Coolidge, people love Jennifer Coolidge from American Pie to White Lotus, and also just being very actually, I don't want to define a woman as being likable. A very funny, really charismatic, honestly cool, hilarious lady. And just a fun person to watch. That's not defining somebody by likability because I don't think that's necessary when it talks about defining women. But who wouldn't want to see that? Everybody loves Jennifer Coolidge. Not that you need to be loved to be a great performer, but I think she would have a lot of fun. And I think, honestly, the show would be so excited to have her. Can you imagine the energy, the fun energy everyone on the cast would have? Having Jennifer Coolidge in the house. Chloe would probably be on her A game. Getting a chance to try to do a sketch with Jennifer Coolidge. Everybody would try to be clamoring. So I think that'd be not only a fun show to watch, I think that'd be a really fun show. I think there'd be a lot of a goofiness going on there.
Yeah, I think that's obviously why they scheduled it for the finale.
Yeah,
there's going to be
great choice.
Big dumb fun.
Yeah,
to end the season on. Pretty sad that we didn't get to actually see it.
So if we saw Jennifer open up, do we think Jennifer could still come in? Is this
for sure?
Is this a Roddy Rich or a who was canceled? Was it the yeah situation where it's we should so expect them? Where Lauren's oh, you trust me, you guys will be able to come back.
I mean, they did Charlie XCX the year before. She came back. So there's
Lizzo.
Absolutely.
Lizzo came in for the
Lizzo came in for the yes. That's right.
Yeah, and funny note, Jennifer Coolidge was supposed to be on with musical guest Foo Fighters, who are performing 3 blocks from my house right now at a 4,000 seat arena. So very cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What? The Foo Fighters are fine.
They have 2 good songs.
TJ, come on. They are rock legends. You just have to deal with it. been around since 95, putting out at least one good song and album. It's all right.
I like the
All
one
right.
good song, but the sense get in after that. Like,
Let's get to our last topic of the night. And again, chat, you got to let us know who's winning these debates. But our final topic of the night is as we slowly head towards a big moment in America, which is the 2024 election. One wish you have for how SNL
Jesus.
will cover the 2024 election. It seems like every 4 years there is something big that SNL does to cover the election, whether good, whether bad. And, it'll be very interesting because since the previous election, the show looks completely different. In 2020, we're talking about Alec Baldwin versus Jim Carrey. You have Maya Rudolph coming in as well.
Lord,
it's
Jesus Christ.
It's just a completely different show. The question at the time was, we're right in the middle of COVID. Are we still going to be able to bring in celebrities that have been there for the last few years?
Should this show be running right now?
Right. So it was
we all just take an Ambien and go to bed.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. But since then, SNL has looked a lot more like SNL. And the question will be, are we going to revert back, or how will it look in 2024? And you have to start thinking about these things because as we head towards the second half of season 49, that's when things really start kickstarting with the election coverage. So, Andrew, I will go to you first on this one. What is your wish for how SNL will cover the 2024 general election?
Well, what they got to do, and they got to do it as soon as the season comes back, is they need to find a writer or writers who their specific role in the show is to craft the political satire.
Yeah.
Just the cold opens. Much like we've handed the monologues over to DiCenzo and whoever, we gotta. It can't be Jost and whoever stumbled into his office that day to fart out another, 20 pages of old movie references and nonsense. You got to have somebody who this is their thing. This is what they want to do. Is I want to do political sketches on SNL, or like that's at least something they're good at. Because as much, no matter what you say about Jim Downey, whatever part of his career you're talking about, the man at least cared and knew about politics. We've spent way too many years in doing political satire that has almost nothing to do with the actual politics and or satire. And I think the show has learned, the whole Jim Carrey as Biden gambit failed hard. I still think every single time it's brought up, everybody's like, oh, that happened. And it only happened a couple of years ago. And you're like, it happened. And they did that fly sketch. Oh my God. Oh. So I don't think the show is going to do that stuff again. I don't think it's going to be a bunch of cameos and all that anymore. But yes, definitely as soon as we come back with season 49, you need to start cultivating some writers who can put out some strong satire and political material and get them in early, because as you say, by the time we hit 2024 in this season 49, things are going to be rolling. So it's best to get them in early and start figuring out how to do this, because we can't be doing it like we did. For sure. So that's what I hope. No cameos, get some writers in that know how to do this. And I just pray for James that Trump doesn't get the nominee as well, the Republican nomination, because I don't even know what they're going to do then. If it's one guy that does the Biden and the Trump, I don't know what you do. And I think they're
back and forth.
Yeah, and like Carvey did that one time, and they made jokes out of it and stuff. But you can't do that every single time. You can't have a whole debate sketch where that's happening. So I'm sure the show's just quietly like, please, no, I don't know. It can't be DeSantis though, but like it can't be Trump, right? Like I don't know, please. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But yeah, get some writers.
Did we have I'm like 80% sure the answer is no. We didn't have a DeSantis impression, did we?
No, but I will tell you. I will tell you that I know for a fact that they have been like thinking about who is going to play DeSantis for a very long time. It's something that
Okay.
like
I
even
don't
going
think I
back
need to worry at this point. Actually,
well, even going back into
I don't know.
last off season, like they were thinking about it. So
oh, really?
yeah. So does that mean it's one of the new hires potentially, or does that mean it's just they haven't found that person yet? I don't know, but I think everybody knows at the show that DeSantis is going to be a major player in all of this.
Yeah,
So,
you'll be in the
Yeah.
debates at the very least. So
Yeah, and
for
I think
sure.
and I think it's a
yeah.
very purposeful decision by the show to have no one played DeSantis yet. Like they have not committed to who is going to be that character on the show.
I think Bowen playing George Santos or whatever the hell his name is, like,
Yeah.
like took
Soros.
up the air. Whatever his name is, I don't know. Like, just like I think that took up the air.
He may have
of
changed
that.
his name too. He changes everything.
Yeah, who
else,
knows?
so.
Yeah, I don't know. So I told the guys before, like I saw the email a few days ago that we were gonna have this question, and I was like, okay, I couldn't think of anything, but usually I was like, I can think of something on the fly. And I was looking again before we start to do podcast a few hours ago, and I was like, I still can't think of anything. And then I told the guys as we were hopping on the call that like I don't have a specific take, but I think this might be what it is. This is the first. It's more subjective than objective. This is the first election cycle that I'm actively on the show dreading. Most of the time when it was like Romney versus Obama, Trump versus Hillary, as much as like I have stated numerous times, I don't like political sketches. And that's not even true because some of them do make me laugh. For the most part, I don't love the overload of political sketches because it's just like during the Kate era, it just was like what they were doing was trash. But there was that golden moment for was it like a few months where like Alex Trump was like, we love to see it every week. It was delightful, help make light of some of the situation.
We also had different head writers at that point, and
Yeah.
the landscape of the show is a little bit different.
Exactly. And now we're at a point where I was finally realizing another reason I was enjoying this ensemble like sketch vibe of like 48 was also it just didn't happen to be an election year. I don't feel like there was as much of a need to focus on, and mid-year elections were done too. There wasn't as much of a need to really focus heavily on a political area. So the cast that was there, I feel like they got to have this kind of carefree year, honestly. But like coming into this next one, I don't know how to feel about this ensemble cast coming into an election year. I think that's going to weigh down some of the cast members. Honestly, we don't have a Cecily and a Kate. Like everyone has points of view, like in their own personal lives. But do we really think we're going to see Heidi doing a Claire from HR or like a Cecily's clown character? Like I feel like we have performers that were like there to do that. Maybe Michael Longfellow might do some kind of poignant commentary, but like I don't
his
know.
war's coming, TJ.
I don't know if this cast necessarily. I don't necessarily know if they have that POV that they want to share as a performer. Cecily did the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We've seen her do like political comedy, and I think she does it well. But do we have a political performer? Like, what are we going to have Joe's turn to the camera and then to another camera and do it? Like,
I mean, you got James at this point, and I think
he's
he's
amazing.
the only one that's really planted the flag.
But really look at James's political performance.
And I think he's been trying actually to get away from it.
Exactly.
I think this last season, you saw James try to get away from being the Trump and Biden guy specifically.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody wants to do this stuff because it's all so fraught.
Exactly.
And also the show should really,
Sir.
I mean, what? Okay.
I forgot where I was trying to go. Like, it's fine. No, you can go. Like, we interrupt on the show, and it's fine. I lost.
All right. Well, this is great podcasting. So let's.
No. I want to get this out. What I'm trying to say is that like, this is the first year where like, and SNL always makes me laugh, and it even helps me contextualize the world. But like, maybe because we've had this writer strike the past few years, maybe it's because we didn't have those last few episodes. You know, this happens every summer. There's something crazy that goes on, like all the stuff in Florida. The Supreme Court has been making jackass decision after jackass decision. And like, I think with the depressing decisions on like the one that the Supreme Court made last year and the one for affirmative action. And like, it's the first time for myself where I'm like, I am really having trouble laughing, and that's not normally a me thing. So I'm like, SNL is always able to find that thing to get me to laugh. But like all the DeSantis stuff, the idea that Trump could run again and we could see JAJ, I know we wouldn't really, but see him racing between cameras and sets doing Joe Biden and Trump makeup. Like, I had just now gotten to the point where I was actually enjoying the Trump impression. I finally saw the light. And I was like, oh, I see why people enjoy this, because I feel like things were a little lighter. But like, one wish I have for this election is like, and this is simple, just find a way to make it funny, because this shit isn't funny right now.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about a comedian.
So that's
they
the thing,
find
is
ways to do it, you know?
Yeah, I would say I mean, there was a couple things this last season where it's just like, this isn't funny anymore. Like, you can't comment on this and make light fluffy jokes about it and expect to like make me laugh at least. Like, no, if you're talking about this, it's too grim to just be doing normal SNL jokes.
No, I'm gonna
let me jump in on based on our chorus of listeners who may be just listening to what you guys are saying. I don't think we could say what's funny for everybody. Like, I think that, like,
no, I do. I am.
No, I don't think we.
No, I'm not talking about the show. I don't think it's okay.
John, you shut up.
No, I don't think it's okay to unilaterally say when it comes to comedy that something is or is not funny. That's not what I'm saying, because Lord knows I've even listened to the show when I'm not on the show, and I've heard the panelists say like, "Oh, this wasn't funny," and I'm thinking, "Oh, you like you don't like I'm not even kidding. There have been people on this show that I don't even think I've worked with yet, where I'm listening. Andrew, you're not one of them. Where I've heard people say like,
no, of course you did. The last time we were on here, you said like...
I've said F you to your face. Like, I'm talking about people that I haven't met that I couldn't give that same heat to. That like, I don't like to dictate when it comes to comedy what is or is not funny, because it is subjective at all times. And also to say that a sketch is not funny that you heard on a live show and you heard people actively laughing, and given that I was somebody that was in that audience once and know they're not using a laugh track, they're hearing actual people laughing, to have someone say that and then say, oh, this isn't funny, you're a moron. But sorry, that's something that just gets me really heated. When I'm trying to
hear that, Saturday Night Network panelist, you're a moron.
What I'm trying to get back and say is that like the world stuff is I think I'm finally just at an age where like I can't just be, you know, a 20-something that's just like going about life and like isn't thinking about it. Like, think about like the women's reproductive rights being taken away, affirmative action for college students, the college loan stuff. This is all shit that impacts me. Like, I may not be having a kid anytime soon, but like, and it's not just that it impacts me, but I'm finally seeing it as an adult male rather than just a kid watching the world go by. So I'm not just a kid watching these things. I'm an adult seeing it impact myself or the people that I love. And so
I'm not saying like the show needs to approach it.
The world isn't funny, but the show is good at making not situation funny, but the show is good at having fun. And so I'm saying, if you're going to cover this election, just please make me laugh. Like, just I need it.
But then what
bad.
You just want light fluffiness, or do you want it to approach it with
the
grimness that it deserves? Like this is heavy stuff, and you can't just make a Meet the Parents riff out of this situation again.
Andrew, I'm not going to please it. The criteria is make me laugh. It's a comedy show.
Right, but I think so. I think what's interesting here is like I think this is a little bit of an age demographic thing, where I think that both of you are in like the sweet spot of the age of people who find that politics is like so overwhelming. And I think that there's a younger
everybody should.
Everybody should, but there's
annoying.
Yeah, but there's younger people who watch Saturday Night Live who don't have politics as a major part of their life, and they look at the political sketches more as like junk food, which is like, okay, like this guy does a really good impression of Trump, that's cool. And then I think there's actually an older segment of the SNL population who has believed that they have seen anything and everything that's happened in this world before, and they're like, this is not that serious, so I'm just going to enjoy the show for what it gives me. So I think that like there's different types of viewers of the show. So I think that for people of the age demographic of the two of you actually probably look for like a little bit of higher brow comedy, where it's like it's funny, but it also has to like be like clever. And I think that maybe I'm
just wrong. Make me laugh. Like I like stupid humor too. I do. I just
But yeah,
wanna
I
get
don't
that.
think you could do poo poo pee pee fart fart with this 2024. Like you can't do that with, you know, this Supreme Court, or like we're past it. That's what I'm saying. We're past like touching this with kitty gloves. Like, no, this is serious. This is the worst I've ever seen
I'm
it. Like,
I'm
again, like
disagreeing
when
with
I was
Andrew.
growing up, like SNL spent, you know, 2 straight years making jokes about how the president got sucked off. And that was the biggest thing. And that didn't even affect you. That wasn't even a thing that affected your life. Now everything is affecting your life. And this is big stuff. And so, no, it's not funny. It's not poo poo pee pee stuff time anymore. You do need to, like, this stuff has to have claws, has to have teeth. It needs to be cutting. You probably shouldn't be laughing. It's not a laughing matter anymore.
This is why
It's not
I'm
a laughing
watching
matter
comedy
anymore.
to feel good. I'm watching a
No,
comedy
you
because
feel bad, TJ. This is because it's not here to, like, that's the thing. This is not, that's why the political stuff never worked for me, because it's, you can't take stuff that is bad and is happening right now and try to make it fun and inviting. That's why the whole
I
Trump
didn't say
stuff
make it
never
fun and
made.
inviting. I'm saying, look, like my
You just
unilateral
want to
thought,
laugh. You just want to have simple laughs with Trump, your buddy
I wouldn't
Trump.
have any laugh. But my unilateral thought as a person, not someone answering this question, but personally, I don't want to see like election stuff. I'm over it. Like I saw Romney, I saw Sudeikis do Romney, and I saw Alec do Trump. And honestly, I'm good. Like I'm good for the rest of my life. Like genuinely, my wish is to have it like go away, but I can't. So if I can't have it, I want it so that like I don't want to see what I saw with Kate, where she was like playing an old man every week. I just want to laugh because like I'm not depressed. I'm actually really happy. I'm really happy right now. My life is good, but like this shit is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
Sorry, John. Like it's just I want to laugh.
And
about
I get that.
Whatever.
And I'll just put the caveat on top of all of this that you can go back and look at the YouTube views for every episode. I mean, the cold opens and weekend update consistently get the most views because people want to know what SNL has to say about politics. So I actually think that, like, you know, TJ's probably in the minority of the SNL viewership that's like, oh, I don't really want this, because a lot of people actually just specifically go to SNL to see what they have to say about politics.
Which
still
is so
to this
bizarre.
day.
So bizarre to me.
Yeah, and
Who are
so
those people?
it's I would say, like, look, they may tend to be more of a casual SNL fan, but who hasn't necessarily been burned by SNL's, you know, political writing in the last, you know, 6 or 7 years. But I think that there is an opportunity here, and my one wish for how SNL will cover the 2024 election is that the writers, whether they're current writers or new writers, I actually do wish that they would go back and watch film and tape on old SNL election coverage. I think go back to all of the general elections, learn from the past about how SNL has found ways to cover it. I know the world is different. I know people view politics differently, but I think that SNL has gotten away from a lot of the things that worked really well in previous generations of the show when they covered general elections, that they moved into this weird spot over the last 8 years, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah. Look back to your Adam McKays and your Michael O'Donoghues right now. Yeah.
Okay, well, chat, let us know who won these debates tonight. I like that we got a little bit spicy at the end. This was a lot of fun. It
took us an hour to get cooking, but we got cooking, baby.
But we did it. I think this was a really, really fun, panel tonight to get into everything. And I hope you enjoyed Point Counterpoint number 3. Andrew, did you enjoy our trilogy, the 3rd episode?
You keep on calling it a trilogy like this is the last. This can't be the last, right?
We'll have to see. It depends what the listeners want. Yeah. So it's up to you, listeners. So of course you have to let us know. So that is it for tonight's show. What is going to be coming up over the next 6 weeks, in addition to potentially some interviews and some other fun stuff we're doing on the show? We're going to do something really fun, which is a podcast series counting down the top 20 SNL impressions of all time. And we're going to have guests on every single week with us to reveal the results. We did the same thing with characters last season, where we revealed, voted by you, the top 20 characters of all time. This time is the top 20 impressions of all time. That poll will go out on social media tomorrow. So if you would like to input any impression from the history of the show, send it to us. Let us know so that we can get your results in. We got, thousands
pulling
of
for that Jim Carrey as Biden. Let's go, baby, all the way.
We got thousands of submissions last year, so I really appreciate everybody who submitted. So do that again so that we can have a proper, results here to probably understand how people view the impressions from the history of the show. So looking forward to that. That'll be on Monday nights over the next few weeks. Andrew, thanks for joining us tonight. So much fun to get to catch up with you. Where can the listeners check out everything you got going on? What's happening on That Week in SNL this summer?
Well, yeah, I mean, so the summer, we're mostly putting out new stuff on the patreon.com/thatweekendSNL. We're still slowly moving through the Richard Pryor show. So we just did episode 3 of that. We covered the slightly unknown 2022 Bob Clark film Karate Dog, which is a CGI dog voiced by Chevy Chase and stars John Voight. And on the free feed, for the people that don't want to pay in for that, you still got our old off-week episodes coming out. So we just the first part of our In Living Color season 1 just came out. Our discussion about that you can't do that on television is another one that just came out on the free feed as well. So That Week in SNL, we're doing streams on Twitch. We're doing stuff. Come check us out.
Awesome. TJ, so great to catch up with you, man. It's been too long. So thanks for joining us tonight. Where can listeners check out everything you got going on?
Thanks, John. This was the first time in my entire podcasting that I ever got actually angry as opposed to podcasting angry.
Andrew will bring that out of you.
No, it wasn't Andrew. It was all just the election stuff. It's super depressing.
John, Jesus.
You know what's not depressing? Actually, gentlemen, I have an announcement that I'm actually really excited to announce that my podcast, Rabbit Trail, that's RABID, I have a 15-ish minute podcast. We will be doing our 100th episode.
Hey,
100 episodes of Rabbit Trail. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very excited.
Muzzle.
And with that, we'll be doing our first ever live stream on July 30th at 8 p.m., where we're going to be recording 2 episodes live with all our mistakes and flubs. And given that I've done this show live a million times, everything should go swimmingly, right? Right?
Maybe.
Yeah, sure. Me running my own show for an hour without the strength of editing, instead of me behaving myself on the SNL network, because that's what I do. I behave myself on this show. But July 30th at 8 p.m., Rabbit Trail Live. You can go to our Instagram, our Twitter, or our Facebook at We Are Rabbit Trail. Again, that's RABID in order to find out where we're actually going to have it. I think we're going to go with Twitch or YouTube, given that one of my hosts kind of knows that area. Most recently, we just did an episode on Avatar: The Last Airbender that came out today, talking about one of the classics. I think it's one of the classics, one of the all-times. Next week, we're going to be talking about the streaming wars.
You only spent 15 minutes on that?
You know, that's the thing. I think of Rabbit Trail as like a drop-in on a conversation. You can never cover everything in 15 minutes. So it's more of just chatting about it for a few minutes and then hopping out. And we're always open to conversations going on longer.
And they only talked about the last Airbender, not any of the first ones.
I was about to say, we're talking about the movie or the show.
First of all, the movie doesn't exist. It's like Ba Sing Se. It's like the war in Ba Sing Se. So also next week we'll be doing an episode on the streaming wars. Then we'll be doing first dates, and then it'll be the 100th episode. That'll be out to listeners on the 31st, but the live stream will be that July 30th at 8 p.m. Again, you can follow us at We Are Rabbit Trail on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find me, TJ, at King Compliment on Instagram and TikTok. Or if you also want to know some information about the live stream, you can go there. But yeah, I'm really excited about 100 episodes of. I feel really proud of it.
It's a milestone.
Yeah, it's a big milestone.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, John. And yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, you can follow us at the SNL Network on Facebook, Twitter still, I guess, Instagram, and TikTok. But how about Threads?
How about Threads? Give
us a follow over there. We're going to be posting a lot of fun stuff on Threads. So you can do that. Find us at the SNL Network over there. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And really, just honestly, all the people in the chat who joined us tonight, so great to see all of you. It's so much fun to catch up with you in the middle of the summer and see everybody. Hoping that we could do some more of this in the following weeks coming up, and hope you'll join us for our upcoming countdown series. All right. On behalf of Andrew and TJ, my name is John Schneider from the Saturday Night Network. We will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.